with Neal Smith of Smith Station Antiques in Ellijay, Georgia. Now, Neal, I've been coming here probably a half a dozen years, always stopped by your place, but never met you. And you were out in the yard the other day, and we started talking. I said, what an interesting man. We really need to get to know you. So give us a little bit of your background.
All right, I'm a retired school teacher. I grew up in LaGrange, Georgia, down in Troup County, which is south of Atlanta, about 65 miles. And my wife and I met at West Georgia College in Carrollton, Georgia in 1971. And my wife jokes about the fact that I didn't marry her, I married the mountains. Because I've always wanted to live in the mountains, and that's what I went. Well, we wound up living in the mountains. But I've had my antique shop here for 21 years, and I had been put on early medical retirement from the school system. And my father-in-law said if you came home and if I came home and sat down and didn't do anything, that I'd wind up dying. And he said you got to have something to do. And I had the county line flea market up next to the Gilmer-Fanning County border, and for 3.5 years. And I had closed it down because I had to have surgery on my esophagus. And after the surgery, like I said, they put me on early medical retirement, and so I wound up buying all my in-laws' property from them, and turned around and built a house. And as soon as we moved into our new house, my in-laws moved out of this building and into our double-wide trailer, and I put my antique shop in here. Now, this was all my father-in-law's idea. It was not my idea to do this.
Now, when I walked around, and have walked around on several occasions, we're in a enclosed building now, and this is just a small amount of what you have. You have barns, I'll just do a quick pan here. Here's our old Mercury motor, which is so neat, and just different things. Were you just a picker like we see on American Pickers, and it just grew from there?
I was a picker for the antique shops in town for a good while, and I did that on the weekends. And as a sideline as a school teacher, I needed a little extra money. And plus, I've always loved antiques. My first antique that I got is actually sitting in there is a Victrola with these beveled glass mirror speaker in it, and I got it for helping a lady move out of. She was cleaning out a Victorian house in LaGrange, and she was fixing to go into a nursing home, and she was giving her property to the Methodist church there. And I helped the lady clean out her house, and that's one of the things that she gave me was that Victrola. And I've always liked antiques, like I said, from day one. And this has just been a chance for me to have something to do, to keep busy and keep occupied.
Now, people must say to you, when are you going to stop? You got so much stuff. Is it just a passion that takes over and you can't stop?
It's a disease. It's not a passion. My wife will tell you that. And my wife doesn't really like the antiques that much. She likes to go on the longest yard sale with me because she likes to see the people and see everything that is there. And because there's more stuff than just antiques on the longest yard sale. But we have a good time with it. Now, this is the first year in probably 20 years that we didn't go on the longest yard sale, and it was because of the COVID virus.
Sure.
And I miss it, and I miss going I don't go to the Murphy to the flea market on Tuesdays. I haven't been to a good flea market in a good while, since back in January, I guess. So, but I still find stuff. I still buy stuff. I went to a friend of mine's house on Monday and bought about $300 worth of stuff from him. And he had been to a farmhouse. A lady had contacted him at Scott's Antique Show and said she had a farmhouse and farms buildings that were full of stuff that was her daddy's, And so he went and bought that stuff, and I turned around and went down and picked through what he had, and I've got it to put in here. And I keep buying. I shouldn't, but I keep buying. But I
look over in certain areas and I see old Lance cracker jars, which I remember as a kid. I'm old enough.
Yeah.
And the different bottles, and I think, if he saw another one, would he buy another Lance cookie jar?
If I could buy it reasonable enough, I would.
Okay, but what would something like the Lance cookie jar sell for?
Right now, my Lance jars are running about $125 a piece.
Wow!
Most of them I'm seeing on Marketplace. They're asking $150 on Marketplace, and but these are jars that I got back probably 10 years ago, and I don't find them very often, but I have a lot more than what you see right here. I've got a 3-bay garage building up behind my niece's house I've got stuff stored in where I used to go to auctions and used to buy a good bit of stuff. So I've still got stuff squirreled away, and I still bring it out. So.
Okay, what's going to happen when it's time for someone to come in here when we're no longer
to take
around?
Over when I'm gone? Is that what you're saying?
Your daughter?
You know, I don't know whether I won't be my daughter, but I do have a granddaughter, and her name is Presley. And Presley's, I think she's 8 or 9 years old. Anyway, but I know that Presley loves coming down here and helping me. And
maybe
right now, and of all of my family members, she's the one that I think would be the one that would
the caretaker.
She'd be the one to be taken over. So I've just got to hang in there for a while, which I'm planning on hanging in here for a while.
Okay, now what's the difference in your mind? And you get something, and there's stuff you have out there which you've left out in the weather, like certain frying pans and stuff like that. And I wonder, do you eventually just sell that for scrap, or do people actually come in wanting that?
Eventually, somebody will buy it.
Really?
Yeah. And when they started building the 4-lane, I gathered a lot of stuff up then, getting ready for my retirement. And that's what I was saving stuff up. And a lot of the stuff that's sitting out here in the yard was sitting in somebody's farmyard to begin with. You know, it's been sitting outside for a while. And I'll have people ask me, why am I leaving stuff out in the weather to run like it is? But most of it that's sitting out there has been in the weather to begin with, and it's going to last a long time. Frying pans will last forever as long as you don't leave them turned right side up, which I have a lot of problems with that. Last week I had a lot of people that came in and looked and shopped and everything. Then when the rain came in over the weekend, I had frying pans that gathered water. Well, I've been out and about this week turning out and dumping water out of things, because I know it's going to start getting colder, and when it does get colder, those items are going to freeze and bust. Somebody uncovered a crate of Coca-Cola bottles, and they got about an inch of rainwater in the bottom of them.
Well, they'll freeze and crack.
And they'll freeze and bust if I don't get that water out of them.
Is there I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is there a certain, not item, but items that you favor the most? Are there certain pieces you have?
To begin with, well, I've always liked lanterns and old barn lanterns, and I've always liked blacksmithing stuff. So I've got a lot more of the blacksmithing type stuff and the lanterns than most people do.
The anvils and the tools.
Yeah, anvils and tools, tongs, and I've got a good selection of that kind of stuff.
I couldn't help but notice in a box that you have down around in another room, I think it's behind me, that you've got a big tote thing with a bunch of tools in it that says not for sale. I still use them.
I do still use them because I still repair stuff, and I do get out and play with my blacksmithing tools every so often and fix items, and I still have a good time playing with stuff. And that's what my wife says. I just play with it.
You're just a big kid at heart.
That's right. I'm a big kid at heart.
Let me ask you about, there's a lot of copies of signs, like I see reproductions, yes. And some of them people will scratch them up and rust them and make them look like old and sell them, and for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. How do you really tell the difference on those?
that's something that you've got to have experienced. You got to have. It's from you buying and selling for so long. I've just learned on my own, I guess. It's hard to explain to you. I can look at a sign and tell you whether it's a reproduction sign, though.
Even though it's been rusted and stained and all that. Jim's pretty good at that as well.
Yeah.
And it's just something you pick up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to explain that to you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's like I used to collect and buy and sell motorcycles and so on.
Now, I've always had a passion for soda pop bottles and digging for soda pop bottles, and I have dug a lot of dump sites and a lot of outhouse pits and trash sites looking for old bottles, and I've slowly sold off some of my better bottles and some of my better pottery items, and that's still one of my big passions, is to get out and look for bottles and jars. And
well, what we'll do, we'll go out and take some more pictures of everything and catch up with you, and you want take care of some customers.
All right,
and we'll
that'll
be
be
back.
fine.
All righty.
Work.